So you're thinking about moving to Springfield, Missouri. Well, it's not all pink and rosy in the great state of Missouri, and not without its own set of issues. And before you move here, I recommend that you watch this video before you make a life-changing decision that you might regret. If you are like the majority of our clients and are moving from states like Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Arizona, Illinois, New Jersey, New York, Florida, or from California like I did, then it's important that you consider these cons to living in Springfield, Missouri, because you might experience a slight cultural shock as well as a life change upon your move here. So it's important that you listen to these and know these 11 negative truths to living in Springfield, Missouri before you move here so that you can be well prepared upon your move to Springfield. And we will get after it right away. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to eating, living, working, and playing in Springfield, Missouri, then you want to subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about the current real estate market in Springfield, Missouri. My name is Natalie Resnick, and my team and I get calls and emails every day from people just like you looking to make a move to Springfield, Missouri, and we absolutely love being able to help. So if you're looking to move here in 9 days or 90 days or even 9 months from now, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or even schedule a Zoom call, all in the description below, and we would be absolutely honored to help you with your move to Springfield, Missouri and make it a smooth move here. And with that, let's dig in. So here are the 11 negatives to living in Springfield, Missouri, according to someone who's lived in multiple states and has something to compare it to. And with that, let's start with number one. Con number one to living in Springfield, Missouri is probably the weather. If you do not like change, this might not be a good thing for you. If you do like change and you can adapt pretty quick and look at the positive side, this should not be a problem for you. However, it can get very humid during the summer and super cold in the winter. We're talking about 15 degrees, 20 degrees. That might be very common. This winter has been pretty mild, so I am very thankful for that. However, the winter prior has been extremely cold, lots of snow, lots of windy days, and so the weather can also change on a daily basis. So your weather app might be your best friend upon your move to Springfield, Missouri, because it can be nice 70 and sunny one day and below 40 and windy the next day. So you better be prepared. Keep a lot of different clothes always out and ready to grab in your closet. And also check the weather, because you don't know what to expect. And the other thing is that the weather can change in one single day. You can experience all 4 seasons in 24 hours. So you might come out in the morning, head to work, and it might be very cold. And the next thing you know, it is steaming hot. So if you don't like change, this might not be a good thing for you because it's always unpredictable. And another thing to note is that summers are hot and humid here. So if you do not like humidity, please do consider that. And if you're okay with that, I think it's fine. It's good for your skin. So there's one benefit to that. And then also we do get snow in the winter. It's not as snowy as it is in other states. However, because of the changing weather, we do get ice on the road. So you have to be very careful of that. And also you might have school closed on certain days when it gets too icy and cold and snowy, or work canceled. So that might be a good thing. I don't know, you think for yourself, but the weather can be a little A little something else here. I'm from California originally, so it was not as extreme. We did have snow in parts of California, but where I lived, I had to drive about 2 hours to get to snow, so it did not impact my daily life like it does here. So another thing is that seasonal depression is a thing here because of the weather and because we get that full 4 seasons. And if you're anything like me who loves my sunshine, loves the sunny, warm days, that is a negative. If you're okay with that, then I guess it might not be a bad thing for you, but just something to consider. The weather is always different. You never know what to expect, and you always have to be prepared, I guess, for it, and just be okay with changing weather on the daily, and that it might ruin or cancel some of your plans. So consider that before your move to Springfield, Missouri. Con number 2 to living in Springfield, Missouri is that Missouri accounts to 6 of the 25 most deadliest tornadoes in U.S. history, and it has what's called sinkholes. Have you heard of that? Well, if you haven't, I will explain what those are. Unfortunately, the state of Missouri is in the tornado alley, and so you might have to deal with a tornado or two in your lifetime of living in Springfield. So do consider that. Consider the risks of living in a tornado alley before you move here, because it can be pretty deadly. However, the good thing is that most tornadoes occur between the months of April and May. So even though they can occur any time of the year, majority of them are during these few months, and so they're limited to a smaller part of the year. And another thing is that most, or at least a big part of homes in Missouri do have basements, which typically do have storm shelters or rooms that are considered, and that can be a great place for your family to go to and to be safe during a tornado. And then another thing is that storm shelters can be purchased for your home and placed into the garage or some other area if you do not buy a home with a basement. And so that can be another precaution that you can purchase for your family, and just be prepared for the worst case scenario. Unfortunately, Missouri's surface is made out of carbonate, bedrock, and limestone, both which are very prone to dissolution, and so it can cause sinkholes. So I just want you to know about this, because as someone who moved here from the West Coast a few years ago, this has been quite a bit of a surprise for me, and actually quite scary. So when I heard about that, I went online pretty quick and made sure that the area that I'm living in, it does not have any signs of sinkholes, so that I don't end up dealing with one. So just something to consider: tornadoes and sinkholes, both are very deadly, and you might want to avoid those and consider those before your move to Springfield. So if the bipolar weather did not scare you off, the tornadoes did not scare you off, or the sinkholes, con number 4 to living in Springfield, Missouri is that it is the area where there's quite a bit of ticks and deadly bugs. Starting with ticks, they are very common between the months of April through July, but they can happen and they are alive every part of the year. They do typically die off in the colder months, so that's something to be grateful for. But it is a very annoying issue, and actually a very concerning issue, because if you are bitten by a tick, you can get something like Lyme disease, which could be deadly actually, and is a very serious disease. And so one of the things I love about nature is being able to go outside and explore and not have to worry about anything, especially little ticks that can bite you. And as a mom to 3 little boys, I would prefer that my kids go outside and run barefoot, explore, climb trees and all, but now I have to worry about them not getting bit by a tick. And ticks typically, they like tall grasses, wooden areas, They also like old vacant lots. So anything that's overgrown, you might want to check areas where there's like rocks and old wood and logs and stuff, so that your kids don't wander there and potentially get bitten by a tick. But if they do, you want to make sure that you take it off the body the correct way so that the head does not get stuck. I know it's gross, but there's little tools for that you might want to stock up on and have ready in your car, just in case you go on a hike and get bitten by one, or if you accidentally, if you're playing outside, your kids are playing outside and are exploring and get bitten by one, you want to be prepared for that situation, and possibly take them to the doctor just to rule out anything. And that is something I know that when I lived in Northern California, that we did have ticks, but they were not as common here, and that was not something that I ever was concerned about. So that is a little bit of a annoying negative to living in Springfield and in Missouri in general, because I want to be able to explore the beautiful nature that is here. And we all know of black widows, but do you know of the brown recluse spiders or chiggers? Well, that's another thing that's very common in Springfield, Missouri, especially in the warmer months. And so you want to be well prepared. You want to have your bug repellent, your tick repellent, and just make sure you're dressed for the occasion. If you're going on hikes, that you wear long socks, and maybe make sure that you're wearing longer pants, and try to avoid areas that could have more of these bugs and insects and ticks, so that you don't get bitten and can avoid getting sick from them. So something that I do not love about living in Springfield, Missouri, and honestly it has been quite the worry for me as a mom to little kiddos, because they like to go outside, they like to dig, they like to go to areas that's probably not the safest, and have a higher risk for these kind of things. And so I have to be very wary and actually, educate them on this and have them be cautious. And so it takes an extra step, a little more time, and a little more effort on our part. And that's something I wish that we did not have to deal with, but it is what it is. So that is another negative to living in Springfield, Missouri. The fourth negative to living in Springfield, Missouri, or Missouri in general, is that there is what's called a personal property tax. I'm not talking about real estate taxes, not talking about personal income tax or business tax. This is what's called a personal property tax. And it taxes items that you own, such as cars, trucks, trailers, RVs, and such. And it is assessed at 1/3. It's taxed at 1/3 of the assessed value of the item. It does decrease every year as the value of that item goes down, but it can be pretty hefty, especially if you have newer, higher priced items. So you pay your taxes upon the purchase of that item, and then you pay those taxes every single year. And the kicker is that it is due on December 31st. I don't know if that's a great gift to yourself, but it is what it is. There probably could have been a better way of, or a better time frame of getting these taxes paid, but that's Missouri for you. And so that kind of makes you think about whether you really want to purchase new items, because you might have to pay a little more on them each year of you owning them. So I personally do not like them. In some instances, I would rather pay a higher registration fee for those items than having to pay this personal property tax, because it can be quite high, and I feel like it is quite a negative, because you do work hard to own nicer things, and so you get taxed more for them. I don't know. I just don't think that is a great thing, and I think that's a huge negative to living in Springfield, Missouri. The fifth negative to living in Springfield, Missouri is that the restaurant department does have something lacking to it. I moved from a very diverse place, from a place where there was a lot of different ethnicities, and so we got really great authentic food. Now looking back, I feel like I was quite spoiled, and so upon my move to Springfield, Missouri, it has been quite a bit of a disappointment when I do go out to restaurants. If I'm not gonna cook at home, and if I'm gonna pay quite a bit for a dish, I expect it to be a certain way, and the majority of times I have been disappointed, and I am still on the lookout for really great authentic food here. So if you love Mexican food, I have to say I have not found really great Mexican restaurants. I know that is something that's commonly said upon among other people, and so it's not just something that I feel like is my own personal opinion, but it is quite common to hear from other people. So I also found that, you know, unlike some of the other states, and they have their cons too to living in those states. However, I have found the restaurants here do not uphold the same threshold to, you know, quality and just the cleanliness. And another instance is that I went out with friends for a night out on the town, and you know, we went to one of the most popular places here in town, and upon some conversation during that dinner, I found out that that place currently failed inspections for actually some really concerning reasons. And so I just did not have a great experience there, on top of the food just not being as wonderful as I'm used to. In this specific place was a sushi place, so I like my sushi a certain way. It has to have a certain freshness to it, and it was not great. And on top of that, hearing that the restaurant is open after it failed significant inspections, safety and health inspections, it was a little disappointing, and I wanted to leave. And I think I will, you know, I will definitely consider not going there again, or at least making sure that the time that I do go and visit that restaurant again, that I do check what their status is on those inspections, and really be a little more careful. So that is another thing too, living in Springfield, Missouri, is that just the restaurants here are, you know, they don't have that authentic touch, even in these authentic restaurants such as Asian cuisine, Indian cuisine, Mexican, and so on. However, we do have a bunch of chain restaurants and fast food places. Lots of Sonics restaurants. They're a fast food chain as well. They were not very common in California, in the location of California where I lived, but they are, it seems like, on every corner. And the joke of the day here, seems like every day, is that if there's a new development, it must be another Sonic. So just something to consider. So if you're a big foodie and you love amazing food and you love to go out and eat and find new amazing restaurants, I would say just be prepared to have a different experience. I'm not saying that there's absolutely no amazing restaurants. I am still on the lookout for that, but maybe also because I just don't go out as much. I'm not the biggest foodie there, but I do like to have really good food when I do go out, and I'm very big on restaurants passing their safety and health inspections. So another negative to living in Springfield, and that might not be a big deal for you, but for some, if you're looking for, if that's a big concern on your list, please do consider that. The sixth negative to living in Springfield, Missouri is the grocery department. I feel that the options here are lacking a bit, and that food is not cheaper here at all. Is the same, if not a little slightly more, as it was in California. And there's just not as much variety of groceries here, especially like vegetables and produce, as there were back in California. And I know California is an exception because it did produce quite a bit of its own produce and fruits, and so it might be a little unfair to compare. However, it is a negative based on my prior experience and prior options in California, and so I want you to be aware of that, because I have yet to find my favorite grocery store where I absolutely love my shopping experience there and feel like the quality of the food is superb. And I do miss Trader Joe's. We do not have Trader Joe's here. That was one of my staple stores back in California. I could go in and be out in 20 minutes with all the items that I need. It had just the perfect selection of food, and we don't have a Trader Joe's here, so I for one had to go through a bit of a grief period upon my move here, because I'm a big Trader Joe's fan. And to be honest, I know it's funny and might be a little silly, but that has been a big adjustment for me. I have now started shopping at places like Walmart. In fact, Walmarts here actually are one of the better stores. And then there's Aldi. People love it, and it's kind of like I believe it's owned by the same family that Trader Joe's is owned by, but it's just not the same. So be prepared that you're gonna be in the Midwest and the groceries just might be what you're used to. So that is another con. Another negative to living in Springfield, Missouri, negative number 7, is that Springfield, Missouri is home to a high crime rate. In fact, it has a crime rate that is well above the national average, and so that is something to consider. And because when you're buying a home or moving to any place, you do want to consider about the safety of that place, especially if you have children and you plan to be out and about all the time. And so that is something that I knew coming here, and so I expected that. But if you do not, just know that Springfield is on one of the top cities with the highest crime rates in the US. You do want to use online resources to make sure that you're comfortable with the crime index of that neighborhood, that city that you buy in and move to, and that you're well prepared and it's not a shock, because crime rate does affect home resale values. And so just be well prepared and well researched before you move here. There's quite a bit of online resources, so it's all available for you, and that is something that you just have to do. And I know that every city has its own issues, has its own crimes, and other cities have just as much crime, but Springfield is considered one of the highest in the US. So you just want to be aware of that before you move here. Another negative to living in Springfield, Missouri is that the majority of its population is primarily white. In fact, 87.6% as of 2022 is white. So if you are used to living in a highly diverse place, or if you are someone of a minority ethnicity, then you might find yourself, maybe not, I think this is kind of like a personal preference, personal issue. You might find yourself uncomfortable. It really depends, but that's something that you want to be aware of, because Springfield, the people here are wonderful. They are friendly. They're welcoming. However, as someone who has also moved from a very diverse place, from what's actually is considered a melting pot, I was a little bit taken aback because it has been a culture shock for me. Not only because there's less people here, but just because there is less diversity here, and I'm just used to having a lot of different nationalities that I see on a daily basis in my work, in schools, wherever I go. And honestly, I love that. I love the uniqueness of everyone, and I'm just a person who loves change, who loves variety. And so moving to Springfield, Missouri has been quite a experience. I'm not saying it's been negative, it's just been different. It took me a minute to kind of figure out what's different, because I was like, something's different here and I cannot pinpoint it. So took me a minute, and then I was like, oh, okay. But like I said, most people that I've met here and interacted with have been very friendly and welcoming and encouraging and just really awesome people. And my neighbors wave to me every time I drive by, and people help. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. However, it could be a negative if you just have a different experience, or have a different background, or you just prefer to be in a different in a population where the diversity is slightly different. So that's just something that you need to be aware of before you move to Springfield, Missouri. Negative number 9 to living in Springfield, Missouri is that it is considered to be a little on the slower pace, especially for someone like me who lived in a major metropolitan area where it was constantly busy and became busier as with the recent years. I am having quite a bit of a adjustment period, because I am someone who just cannot sit still. I like when things are slightly busy, and so it has been a very interesting experience for me, because although I love the beautiful country roads, the farm life here, the beautiful homes, in the outside the city limits on lots of acres of land, the rolling hills, the beautiful lakes. Sometimes I'm like, gosh, I just want to be in the city. And the city of Springfield, Missouri, the downtown area is just not quite as big, or doesn't have quite as maybe shops and stuff like that as I'm used to. Not as much variety, I guess. I have found my favorite coffee shops and favorite places to visit, but it's just for someone like me, I just like to have change. I just like to, I guess I get energized when things are busy. I see other people like doing things. I don't mind a little bit of traffic. So for someone like me, if you are like me and you do prefer a little bit of a faster pace of life, or just a little more things, Springfield is a little on the smaller side. It's considered like a little city, little town with big city perks. And so if you're here for like the slower pace of life, country living, just less hustle and bustle, then this is for you. But if you're like me, it might take a minute to adjust. And I'm not saying it's bad, because I love it. I love driving, and I actually take the back roads most times just so I can enjoy the beauty and just drive in a relaxing atmosphere and enjoy my views. But sometimes I want to be on the go and just have a little more things happening. And so just saying that it can be a little life change, a little bit of an adjustment for you too. So be prepared, because you might think that you might want to move to the country, but really ask yourself those questions, whether you can live that kind of lifestyle long term, or if it's more of a dream that sounds nice but might not be doable for you. And I know for a lot of people, especially in the recent years, that's what they prefer. And that's why they're making these moves across the country and uprooting their entire life is for this kind of lifestyle. So to each their own. The point that I'm trying to make is that it might be a good adjustment, but it will still be an adjustment that you have to kind of go through it and really just give it some time so you can, I guess, adjust to it. Negative number 10 to living in Springfield, Missouri is that it does not have some of the amenities that I'm used to when I lived in California. And that's something that I just did not necessarily know upon moving here. And it's something that I found out once I moved here and I was trying to find some amazing parks for my kids, water splash pads during those hot, humid summer months, and other amenities and things to take my kids to and really to explore and stuff like that. And so back in California, it seemed like we had a park in every single neighborhood, and they were amazing parks. And I feel like I look back now on those pictures of the memories we made with my three boys, and I'm kind of sad because though there's parks here, they're just they're not as great. There's not, I don't know of a splash pad here. There are some community pools here, so you can get a membership there and go there during the summer. But if you have younger kids like I do, and sometimes you don't want to take them to those busy places and constantly have to be on alert. You want to take them to a splash pad or to a nice park. There's not that many options here. There's some indoor places like the jump houses and other things, lots of museums, but those parks, those splash pads, and and especially sidewalks. I miss my sidewalks in California. I know it might seem like a silly thing, but with smaller children, especially 3 that are very close in age and that are very active and on the go, I just loved having the sidewalks in neighborhoods. It was just, I did not know it was a thing not to have sidewalks in other areas. And so that's another thing, is that a lot of neighborhoods in Springfield, Missouri, and the towns like Nixa, Ozark, Republics might not have sidewalks there. So you might have to take your walk or your bike ride on the road through the neighborhood, which might not be a big deal, but as a parent, I'm always concerned and always on alert for cars and things like that, because my kids like to go all over the road, and I have to call and every single one and remind them every other minute that they have to stay on one side. And so that has been a challenge. Something I know that, the cons to live, the pros to living in Springfield, Missouri, like the lower cost of living, cheaper housing. However, those neighborhoods don't have sidewalks, and the newer neighborhoods, they have sidewalks on one side of the road. And con number 11 to living in Springfield, Missouri is that your airfare might not be the cheapest here, and that is because the Springfield Branson Airport is not a super large hub airport, unlike other airports such as in Texas and California. And so the pricing here is going to be a little more expensive, because you might have to have flights that connect to other cities, layovers and things like that. And so you might pay a little more for your ticket to the same destination as your friend who is flying out from a different destination. So that is something to consider, especially if you have to travel quite a bit for work. The Springfield Branson Airport is located in the northwest region of Springfield, and it is quite accessible. It's not that big of a drive. It can be about 20 minutes or so, or even closer, depending on where you live. But the tickets themselves are going to be a little more pricier. So if you're thinking of if you're planning to take your vacation every year and planning to visit family and do other kinds of travels, just be aware that your expenses for airfare might increase while you live in Springfield. So that really wraps up our video on what I consider to be the biggest downfall to living in Springfield, Missouri. But just like any other city, there will be some negatives. And if you really think about all the pros to living in Springfield, Missouri, they might outweigh the cons that I have listed in this video. And if you'd like to know more about the pros to living in Springfield, Missouri, be sure to check out my videos about the pros to living here. And if you found any value in this video, please subscribe, tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about the current market in Springfield. And like mentioned before, if you're moving here in 9 days or 90 days or even next year, be sure to send us a text, give us a call, send us an email. We would love to help you make a smooth move to Springfield, Missouri. And with that, we hope to see you around town.